Welcome to War Games on Toast, all of you wonderful people. I am once again back talking about the latest edition of Warcry, and I am once again talking about warbands. Last time we spoke about the destruction-loving Horns of Aqshy, but this time, today, I am talking about something even more destructive, something even more fiery than the Flame Hurler. Of course, that means I am talking about the Scions of Flame. But before we get into all of that, I just want to say thank you for clicking on this video, for all the support you've shown this channel so far. And it's been a wild ride so far. It's been absolutely crazy. And if you want to continue to support the channel and support it further, please consider dropping a like, leaving a comment, and subscribing. It helps this channel fight against the dastardly YouTube algorithmic demon. And this video was heavily requested by viewers, and this is why it exists. So yes, the Scions of Flame are now here and now because multiple people have asked for it in the comments. If you want to see your faction covered, leave a comment and I'll get to it as soon as I possibly can. But again, thanks again, and on with the show. So like with all of these warband videos, we're going to start simple and then move on to the more technical, more mechanical stuff. And that means we're going to start with story time. Everyone loves a bit of story time, so grab a blanket, make yourself some hot chocolate, and let's see what the Scions of Flame are all about. The Scions of Flame, even when compared to the seemingly endless horde of Chaos Worshippers, are considered insane, dangerous, and deranged. These guys are not just followers of the Dark Gods, they are zealots who are dedicated to the darkest flames of Aqshy. I think that's how you pronounce that. Got no idea. Their wrath knows no bounds. Their fire burns hotter than the sun, and they desire only to bring that fury onto their enemies and cleanse them on their black pyres. The battlefield is a moving crematorium, and they are happy to stoke it with fresh bodies. The Scions of Flame are awesome. The general feel of them, excellent. And they have some of the best models in Warcry. I absolutely love these models. And whilst the lore in Warcry isn't exactly the most fleshed out thing that Games Workshop does, the Scions of Flame just ooze this madness I love to see when I play a faction. These dudes just like fire. That's all they like. They like burning things, and that includes themselves. There's literally a guy on fire. So, Blaze of Fury does the following. Boop. A fighter can make this reaction after they are targeted by a melee attack action, but before the hit rolls are made. For each hit roll from that attack action that hits, allocate 1 point of damage to the attacking fighter. For each critical hit, allocate 2 points to the attacking fighter instead. This reaction is shockingly good, because when combined with other reactions, you have an answer for almost every problem. So this ability is basically counter, the generic reaction counter, but in reverse. So when you are hit in melee, you just deal damage back. If you are crit in melee, you deal 2 damage back. Counter works the opposite. So counter works by when people miss you, you do a damage, and if they roll a 1, then you do 2 damage, okay? So how do you use Blaze of Fury? How do you get this reaction to work? Well, you judge the situation and use Blaze of Fury or counter based on that conclusion, okay? So if an enemy is hitting you on a 3+, Blaze of Fury is the way to go, okay? You're going to punish your enemies, any enemy who's stronger than you, who is stronger than your toughness, and they will roll better, and then you deal more damage back, okay? If they have any ability that increases their critical hit effectiveness, think the Chaos Legionnaires, their ability, Wrath of the First Prince, okay? Think that ability where it makes all their hits criticals, right? Well, now you're doing massive damage back, okay? But if the enemy is ever weaker than you, okay, so hitting on a 5+, then counter is of course the way to go. But what Blaze of Fury and Counter do when considered as a pair is allow you to react to any situation. There's a high chance you will actually do more damage reacting than you would have swinging a sword. And we'll get into that a bit later on, but bam, 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 a little quick example of some pretty weak guys who make excellent use of this, okay? And yeah, as you can see, the damage tracks, terrible or underwhelming, and this will nearly always net you more. So very powerful, okay? So get them off the screen, and then onto abilities, and we start with the Scions doubles, and the first of which is Fiery Might, okay? So, until the end of this fighter's activation, add half of the value of this ability, rounding up, to the strength characteristic of melee attack actions made by this fighter. Okay? So this ability can be used by any Scions model, okay? And it has the potential to be very powerful. The average toughness in Warcry, as I keep on saying, and I believe is still true, is around about 4. And the strength of the Scions basic infantry is actually 3. Okay, this makes hitting things in combat very difficult. You're hitting most things on a 5, okay? Unless you're using a bigger threat. So think the Blazing Lord or the Brazen Champion, both of which have a much, much higher strength, but they are limited and very expensive, okay? Fiery Might lets your weaker units swing up and hit enemies who realistically they shouldn't be able to challenge, okay? Not only that, but your stronger units become devastatingly reliable. Your 2 strongest models, the aforementioned Brazen Lord and the Blazing Lord and the Brazen Champion, are rolling in at a whopping Strength 5 base. In a pinch, you can boost them up so they are reliable at just cleaving through the toughest enemies in all of Warcry. So bearing in mind, the toughest thing in Warcry is toughness 7. Yeah, toughness 7, that's crazy high. These guys can hit strength 8. Okay? And as far as I'm aware, that is the highest strength any model can achieve in Warcry. And you have 2 models who can hit that. And multiple models who can hit strength 7. So yeah, this thing is this ability, it can really help you in a pinch. And before I forget as well, this buff lasts until the end of your activation. That means you can use this at the start of your activation and get 2 attack actions off with boosted strength. This isn't an ability that just goes on your next attack action. No. This lasts until you just end your activation. So if you're stationary and can bap someone with 2 full attack actions, they're going to feel it, and it's going to be amazing. Excellent value. Amazing value, okay? But there are downsides, okay? So all that is great. All that is excellent. But there are still downsides, and Fiery Might doesn't actually increase the damage you do. Not directly. It does indirectly, but directly it doesn't. It only increases your strength. This makes you more accurate, but if you're hitting like a wet noodle, case in point, all of your chaff on screen now, okay, then you're still going to hit like a soggy rag, okay? And then you've got to consider its competitor, okay? And its competitor is Onslaught. And Onslaught is a generic ability that grants you +1 strength. +1 attack until the end of your activation, okay? This could actually be better, as it allows you to fish for critical hits more effectively and therefore increase your damage per activation. This leads to some wonderful decision making, like similar to the Counter and Blaze of Fury situational usefulness. I would say use Fiery Might sparingly. If you are hitting something on a 5, then 100% of the time, I think Fiery Might will get you further. If you are running in with hitting a 4 or a 3, then naturally you want to be running with the Onslaught. If you want to spend a double, Onslaught is probably the best. But do make sure to use your low doubles on Onslaught and your high doubles on Fiery Might, because Fiery Might does require a high value dice to get value out of it. Otherwise, you're just getting that +1 strength, which is still fine. That can still tip the balance in your favor. But really, you do want to look at least the +2, ideally +3, to get the most bang for your buck here. So, yeah. And then next up, we have the Beheading Strike, and this is another double, and it does the following. Until the end of this fighter's activation, add half the value of this ability, rounding up, to the damage points allocated to enemy fighters by each critical hit from the next melee attack action made by this fighter. So, okay. Beheading Strike. Yeah, this thing is shockingly powerful. Crazy, unbelievably powerful, but painfully unreliable. This ability can only be used by the Blazing Lord or the Brazen Champion, and of the two, you should only ever use this on the Lord. And there are, we'll get into the situational benefits of using this on the champion, but it gets very expensive dice-wise to use the champion well. So yeah, this is mostly a Blazing Lord ability. And before I dissect this ability and explain why it's a little bit naff, let's talk about the good points first. Okay, let's see why it's so strong and why it has place, but it's a little bit iffy on its, like, you know, it's standing in the greater scheme. Okay, the damage boost is lovely. Okay, both the Lord and the Champion naturally, innately crit for 6, and this is amazing. Okay, 6 damage crits are already very powerful. 6 damage crits are enough to one-shot some things. So, like, you know, that's always good. If you've got the chance to literally just instantly delete something with one swing, you gotta love it. And this ability will boost that to 7, 8, or 9, depending on the value of the dice used when activating the ability. And that will kill more things. In fact, if you hit for 8 damage on a crit, you've actually hit the next tier of HP in Warcry. So it's 6, 8, 10, 12, 15, 18, 20 are the usual increments. So going from 6 to 8 is like the perfect little increment. And going from 8 to 9 is actually even better, because if you high roll 2 6s, then you get hit in 18, and then you're one-shotting a high-end thing. So everything but the 7 is good. So again, you want to have a high value. You want to have you either want to get your crit to 8 or your crit to 9. Both of those are key like breakpoints that allow you to do massive damage. And again, 8 will let you kill 15 health models in 2 lucky 6s kind of thing, right? But like I keep on saying, when you get lucky 6s, and that is because the downsides are pretty damn immense. Firstly, the increases only crit damage. Okay, Beheading Strike only works on crit damage, and there is no way for the Scions of Flame to increase their odds of getting crits. So it's random. You have a 1 in 6 chance every time you roll to score that hit, that crit. And well, look at this way, okay? And the Brazen Champion gets 3 attacks. So if he's stationary and swings twice, you might, on average, you'll get 1 6. It's not guaranteed. It's just the average, and that would be nice. And then the Blazing Lord has a slightly higher chance of getting 2. But you're still expending a very high double on an ability that might not do anything. It's got a very high chance of just completely fluffing and doing nothing. And it might not look bad, but then you just look at the stats of your characters. Their attacks are too low. You don't have enough attacks on your guys to make this reliable. And crit fishing on models this valuable is just not something I can recommend. So when I say crit fishing, it means you've got a model with a lot of attacks who is hoping for high numbers to get that little burst of damage through sheer blind luck. And I love crit fishing. I do it all the time. I do it with chaff, though. I use it with weak models who are 70 points with 4 attacks and run in, not models that are 200 points and are using abilities to possibly do nothing and wasting resources. And this is what this feels like. It feels like you're wasting resources every time you use it, because odds are it won't do anything. And then you've got the other layer of randomness. What if you just don't have a high enough double to pull this off and get a good crit off? Getting your crit to go from like 6 damage to 7 damage isn't valuable. That does nothing. +1 crit damage is not great. It doesn't hit any key HP threshold, and if you get 2 lucky crits, it still doesn't hit any key threshold that a 6 doesn't hit. So you need that high crit. It's too unreliable. It's unreliable on multiple levels, and the effect, whilst powerful, isn't good enough to hope for. Frankly, I would just use I would just use Onslaught. I would use Onslaught 100% of the time over this. And in fact, I cannot remember the last time I used Beheading Strike, because 100% of the time I have picked Onslaught because it does more damage. Okay, think of it this way: Onslaught requires no dice, no high value dice to use. It works 100% of the time, and it works on both attacks you make, both attack actions you make if you're stationary. Whilst this only works on the first swing, which actually, in hindsight, makes it far worse. The more I think about it, the more I realize just how terrible it is. Onslaught, it is better. This is crap. I do not like Beheading Strike, and yeah, skip it. Not good enough. Absolutely terrible. But then we've got Firebomb. Okay, now, Firebomb is weird. So pick a visible enemy fighter within 6 inches of this fighter, and then roll 2 dice. For each 4 to a 5, allocate 1 point of damage to that fighter, and for each roll of a 6, allocate a number of damage points to that fighter equal to the value of this ability. Okay. Now this is a double. Okay. And it is surprisingly good. Okay, I know what you might be thinking, and that I'm going to just dunk on this ability because it ticks all of my boxes when it comes to disliking abilities. Okay, it basically is unreliable and it doesn't do enough, and you'd be right on both counts. But I actually do like this ability an awful lot. Why? Because it does 2 things, and that is, firstly, it grants you range. Scions of Flame have a seriously limited range. And they just don't have a lot of range in their faction. In fact, they have 1 range unit, and this makes it pretty hard for them to exert pressure on their enemies, and it hinders their zone of influence. They can't reach out and touch things. They are very much limited to what is next to them and what's in their movement range, and this makes it very easy for faster factions or ranged factions to just dance around here. And Firebomb does help cover this up. Secondly, the number of units who can use this ability are pretty high. There's 3, in fact, I'll put them on screen now, that can use Firebomb, 2 of which are Chaff, and another being a frontline Fireborn. This gives you more options on who can actually use the ability, and where you can use it, and even how you build your list. There are a fair few weapon options in Scions of Flame, and not all of them allow you to use Firebombs. So is Firebombs worth using? Yes. However, I would stress, when you're making your list, consider who should be using them. And in my experience, okay, initiates, your cheaper units, can use them. They can use them, but have better things to do with their weapon options. Fireborns, on the other hand, don't. At all. They just don't. And we'll get into that later on, but they just don't have anything better to do with their weapons. In fact, Fireborns can just take Firebombs with their best weapon loadout for a tiny bump in points. It makes them ideal for using Firebombs, and I would try to throw these often. They aren't reliable. They're just not. You'll get, on average, you'll deal like 1 damage, right? It's just tip. But again, on that lucky spike, throw enough of them over the course of a game, a lucky spike, you could actually hit it pretty high. And as a result, I would try to aim for high doubles if possible. The higher the double, the better the spike. You could theoretically hit for 12 damage. It's unlikely you roll double 6 with a 6 on the dice, but it's there. You know, there is that swing factor to them that makes them very, very nice. It makes them more threatening than other ability-based ranged attacks. So if you look at the what's their names, the Rock My Creed, they have blowpipes, and they work on a somewhat similar way in terms of how their damage is done. But what makes these a bit better is that swing is way higher, way higher swing, but the odds are you won't be doing much. But chip damage is always nice. You know, sometimes you just need the extra damage. But don't build your list around it. You know, it's more of a, if you have the points and you can slot in a guy with a firebomb, then slot in a guy with a firebomb and then use it a lot. That's the kind of thing there. But that's what doubles. That was the last double, and now we're going to move on to our triples. And this is where things get a little bit spicy, a little bit fun, okay? And this is where the real meat of the Scions go into play. And first off is Inferno, okay? So you roll a dice for each visible enemy fighter within 3 inches of this fighter, okay? On a roll of 4+, allocate a number of damage points to the fighter being rolled for equal to the value of this ability, okay? Okay, so if you've watched any of my videos, you'll know that I love anything explosive. Anything that goes boom, I love it, okay? I loved the explosive damage of the Flame Hill and the Haunts of Aqshy, and you better believe I love Inferno for Scions of Flame. This ability can only be used by the Immolator. However, as I will soon go into, this is absolutely fine because the Immolator is amazing. So what does this do, okay? What does that blob of text actually do in practice, okay? Well, it forces your opponent to think and adjust to you constantly, okay? Inferno is a threat, okay? Its damage potential is immense. It does flat dice damage. So on a high triple, you're looking at 4 to 5 damage in a fairly substantial AoE, okay? Nobody is going to ignore that, because if they do, there's a real chance they're going to take catastrophic damage, okay? Like, the damage is so high that if the Hunters of Aqshy stop thinking for even a second, you could blow up half of their warband. Instantly kill them all, okay? Now, okay, this only works on a 4+, so that's a 50% chance of each thing in range getting hit, okay? But the more enemies you catch in the blast, the more likely you are to hurt something, okay? You want to get your Immolator into the best spot to hit as many things as humanly possible, and to do that, you need to make use of the Immolator's biggest strength, and on screen now, his movement. The Immolator is movement 5, which lets him move around faster than most infantry, and more importantly, faster than anything else in the Scions of Flame. You can get him where you need him, and then he does massive AoE damage when he gets there. Key targets for using his ability, okay, are reinforcements. This is the huge one. You know, so with reinforcements, you know exactly where they're going to come in, okay? They come in turn 2 or turn 3, okay? And they must be within 3 inches of the marker where they come in. If you stand on or near that marker, okay, at the end of turn 1, then on turn 2, there, and you go first, you can blow them all up. Just blow them all up, okay? So you know the limitations. You know the limitations of their deployment, and you know you can get there, and you know how you can blow them up, okay? Basically, just run towards newly spawned enemies and go boom. You are a walking nuke, and they will all take massive damage or die, depending on who you're facing. And again, depending on how numerous your opponent's warband is, you will know how many enemies are coming in because of how warbands are split up, okay? So you could be hitting anywhere from 2 models with this to 5 in a single explosion, okay? And then secondary targets would be things like objectives. So people tend to clump on objectives to guarantee control of those objectives. It makes sense, okay? And that's when you run in and you go boom, okay? That's all there really is to it. Okay? You just look for key places where you can stand that mess people up. If enemies make a mistake, run in, go boom. If people are deploying on the board from a reinforcement point, stand there, go boom. And it's beautiful. It always feels good to use. But thing is, it's not even the best ability here. Like, I love Inferno. It's not even the best thing. the best triple is actually the next triple, and then there's a quad, which is even better. Like the lineup of high value dice abilities for these guys is insane. So Ignited Fervor is next, right? So until the end of the battle round, add 1 to the attack's characteristic of melee attack actions made by visible friendly fighters while they're within 3 inches of this fighter. Okay? This ability is outstanding. To the point I would use this over Inferno a lot. Surprisingly. Now, again, note as well that I would probably use this over Inferno if it was a low triple, I would take this over Inferno. High triples, I'd be much more inclined to go Inferno. But now this ability is super, super strong. Okay. Not only does it give you +1 attack in the AoE around your Blazing Lord, that stacks. It stacks. Okay. You can stack this with Onslaught. You have your Blazing Lord. He goes Ignited Fervor. Woo. Okay. Everyone gets a bit rowdy. Okay. Then on the guy whose turn it is next, who goes to bop some guy in the face, right? He uses Onslaught. And now you've got +2 attacks. And if you're already in combat, that's actually +4 attacks, which is ginormous, okay? So if you ever wanted to know what a Brazen Champion looked like, if he ever could make 10 attacks, now you can experience that firsthand. And I will say right now, it is beautiful. A 10 attack Brazen Champion is a murder house. It is the greatest thing you can do in this faction, is just make a grinding Brazen Champion. His stats, I'm going to put them up now, I'm going to talk about them later on. He has the stats. He's stupid. He's amazing. Like 3 attacks? Nah, man, that's not good enough. Give him 5. Make him attack 10 times. It's ridiculous. Theoretically, you could actually make him attack more than that. You could make him attack 12 times if you had if you combined the Brazen Champion with this and then also used Rampage. You could actually get a whopping 12 attacks out of him, and that is stupidly good. The average damage for that is just insane. You're looking at, like, on most things, you're looking at well over 15 damage a turn. A quick head maths, maybe closer to something like 20 damage. If you were to do that, it's stupid. It's beautiful in the best way. Okay. And yeah, I mean, it does also, I will mention this does make Beheading Strike slightly better. But what would you rather have? 4 attacks with the chance of maybe getting a crit off on one of them for big damage, or 10 to 12 attacks where you're just going to murder things? I mean, yeah, man, Beheading Strike, it still sucks. Even with this, Beheading Strike still sucks. It's still just the worst option. And the best part is the Blazing Lord. Again, little card here, so I'll talk about him. And the Blazing Lord himself is actually stupidly good himself. So you've got this little hit squad of killing death dealers who are all buffed to the heavens. Crazy. Do note, as far as I'm aware, the Blazing Lord himself does not gain the benefit of this, because I believe in the FAQ somewhere, or at least in the actual rulebook, it does state that characters are not visible to themselves. So the Blazing Lord could not buff himself with +1 attack, which is really sad because that would make him amazing, but such is the way of Warcry. And then we go into our quad. Okay, so let's stop gushing about the triples. Let's start gushing about the quad. And this is Engulf in Flames. Pick a visible enemy fighter within 3 inches of this fighter, and then roll 6 dice. Okay, so guaranteed always roll 6 dice. For each 2+, allocate a number of damage points to that fighter equal to half the value of this ability, rounding up. In addition, for each roll of a 6, you roll an additional dice as described above. And you do this for all eternity. So, I am going to say it. This ability is just downright stupid. Not bad stupid, okay, but amazingly stupid. I love this ability thematically, and I love this ability mechanically. I have been on record and said many times that faction quads are usually crap. Like, they're usually just worse than the generic one, and you should just stick with the generic Rampage. Not this time. No. Engulfing Flames is stupidly good. It's the reason why you probably won't use Ignited Fervor plus Rampage, because Engulfing Flames just exists, okay? Engulfing Flames is stupidly good. It's a deletion tool that you bring out to remove things that you just want dead, okay? That's what it does. You cast it, the thing dies. If it doesn't die, then they will be critically injured and will die shortly afterwards, because you're going to run in and bonk them on the head for that coup de grace, okay? So, only the Inferno Priest can use this, okay? You want to use this on a high quad 100% of the time, okay? I'm talking about, like, you want to go with a 5 or a 6 again. You can pull it off with a 3 or a 4, but it's noticeably weaker. You really want that 5 or a 6, okay? Assuming you got that big dice, let's break it down, right? You roll the 6, okay? You roll 6 dice. That's set in stone, no RNG. Every 2+, you're landing 3 damage, okay? On average, that's 5 hits, okay? 5. That's 15 damage, okay? That kills most infantry in the game. It's devastating, okay? Very few things can survive that. Then, if you roll a 6, which again, for the record, you will average 1/6, okay? You get to roll another dice, okay? And that is likely going to get another 2+. So with 6 dice, you're looking at, well, 7 dice, you're looking at an average of 6 hits. That's 18 damage. Now, if you recall earlier, I mentioned that 18 damage was actually a key point of that, a key damage threshold, because some of the toughest things in Warcry, toughest infantry, have 18 wounds, and you've just hit that, which means you can kill just about every infantry model in the game, bar some Stormcast shenanigans, reliably. You just go, they go, that's it. That's how it goes every time you can do this. Okay, they just don't live. They just don't get to live anymore, and it's amazing. And of course, if you get lucky and roll multiple 6, the damage can spike even higher, and the spike, even a small spike, leads to the death of leaders. So you can start you could theoretically start killing with a tiny little bit of luck. Leaders, they melt. Leaders usually have 20 to 22 HP. You know, a small spike, you're doing 21 damage. You'll basically get them in kill range or downright kill them. So that's what it does. It's stupid. This ability is bonkers. It's RNG based but reliable. Its damage is way higher than you're going to get from an extra attack from Rampage. Okay, so an extra attack action from Rampage. Okay, if you spike this, it's even better. This ability is reliably amazing despite the RNG, and occasionally devastating. Overall, the Scions have a bit of a mixed bag of abilities. Like, Fiery Might is good, but it's tangled with Onslaught. Beheading Strike is kind of crap, but then you've got your triples, and they're amazing. Both are amazing, and both have places, and both require different kinds of dice to work, so there's no overlap. And then you've got an amazing quad, which is just game-changingly powerful, where you just melt things, okay? Like, when you play the Scions of Flame, okay, abilities are what make a faction feel like the faction. Stats models, no. Abilities, 100% of the time, make a faction feel unique. And no other faction I've played feels as good, as mechanically and narratively linked as the Scions of Flame. When you play the Scions of Flame, you feel like you're playing the Scions of Flame and nothing else. You feel like you're burning things alive, and that's all you're doing. You're exploding, you're burning, you're getting angry. It's stupidly good. But that's getting a little bit close to the conclusion, and we've got more to go. And it's time to look at the stats, the models that make this faction up, and why you should use them and who to bring. Okay, so after this we're going to lists, but let's quickly delve into the stats, and we're going to start with Blazing Lord. Okay, The Blazing Lord is first up, and this guy is really, really solid. For 200 points, you're getting a super solid defensive profile. Movement 5, toughness 5, and 20 wounds. You can take a hit, give above average toughness, and whilst your movement is far from outstanding, it's enough to get the job done. The Blazing Lord is a frontline fighter, and if you play into his triple ignited fervor, he can be a frontline support, tanky, smacky chappy. He's amazing, okay? But then you check out his offensive stats, and this guy's just a beast. Noticeably stronger than any of the leaders in any of the sets I've reviewed so far. This guy has 4 attacks, strength 5, 2 to 6 damage, range 2. That profile is really good. Range 2 is the thing that always gets me excited. But 4 attacks, beautiful. 2 to 6 damage, oh my god, the spike potential. And strength 5, so stupidly good, okay? Strength 5 lets him swing at leaders, monsters, monstrous infantry, okay? It just works. He just hits reliably. And his damage profile being 2-6 is a little bit swingy. Honestly, if you had a minimum damage of 3, that would have been perfect, but we can live with the 2, especially when that swing is up to 6. Pretty damn spicy. And of course, range 2 lets you fight more defensively, lets you touch enemies more easily, it gives you more influence on the board, and the 4 attacks gives the Blazing Lord some serious punch. With minimal dice investment, the Blazing Lord becomes a monster on the battlefield, and if you want to be more supportive, you absolutely can. This is a fantastic piece, possibly the best model in the entire set. He can do everything, and he does everything so damn well, and he's reasonably priced. He's more expensive than most leaders we've reviewed so far. It doesn't matter. Well worth that cost. Excellent. An all-round winner for this faction, okay? And then he's backed up by the Brazen Champion, okay? So let's get him off the screen. Let's put the Brazen Champion on, okay? The Brazen Champion is basically just a Blazing Lord, but slightly worse, okay? This guy is only 165 points, comes in with movement form, toughness form, and 18 wounds. This is a great profile, okay? And when you look at the rest of his stats, he is basically as strong as most leaders found in most other bespoke warbands. It's even as tough as most leaders in those warbands too, without actually being a leader himself, and being cheaper than many leaders too, okay? As he stands now, he is very, very solid in his defensiveness, which is a great starting point. But then we've got his offensive stats, okay? Range 2, always fantastic. Strength 5. We love Strength 5. 3-6 damage. That's the profile we wanted on the Blazing Lord. This guy has it, okay? Attacks 3. Okay, again, this guy is absolutely killing it with these stats. Okay, Strength 5, always good to see. Okay, we love Range 2. 3-6 is brutal damage, okay? And whilst Attacks 3 is the low point, okay, this can be remedied with ability dice. This guy loves, as we mentioned, Ignited Fervor. He loves Onslaught. He can even rock Rampage, and once this guy's buffed, he goes from being obviously good to being unbelievably fantastic very, very quickly. This guy is good enough to take multiples of, okay, despite his cost. You would likely want to take 2 of these, and as you'll see in our list, I recommend bringing 2 of these because 2 of these guys is really good. And you can bring 2 of these and have both of them running with the Blazing Lord. And then you've just got this solid bulk of almost 60 wounds at high toughness and crazy damage output. It's an amazing combination that has never failed. It just runs in and goes boom. It's great. It's just a brutal combination, and it wouldn't work if you didn't have something as strong as the Brazen Champion. Then you've got the Fireborn. Now, you see, the Fireborn are weird, right? These guys, okay, no, we'll get into the stats first, okay? They're fine. They're frontline guys, and they can act as chaff in a pinch, okay? They're solid and come in 3 variations, okay? A big thing to note with the Fireborn, though, is that they're not born equal. These guys run anywhere from 95 to 110 points a pop, and this might not seem like a huge difference, but when Warcry is running with, this might not seem like a huge difference, But when you get number crunching, you might find yourself needing to drop points somewhere, and this is the great place to do that, is to get a cheaper Fireborn. Now, defensively, they are all the same. Movement 4, toughness 4, wounds 12. This is great. Okay, this is right on the money for your standard frontline slugger, and these guys can just take a hit, they're decently priced, and they move at a decent nick. Okay, so far, so standard, and then you've got the weapons. Okay, you've got a basic Fireborn, a Fireborn with an axe, and a Fireborn with a Kris. What's the difference between them? Well, the basic Fireborn and the Fireborn with the axe have identical profiles. Range 1, attacks 4, strength 4, 2-4 damage, and that's a really good profile. Okay, so far so good. Range 1 lets them down. Everything else really solid. Okay, the difference between the Fireborn with the axe and the Fireborn without the axe is that the Fireborn without an axe can bring a firebomb. He has the firebomb rune mark that's required, which is very nice. It's something to consider. It gives that one a bit of range. Okay, very nice. And then we've got the Fireborn with the Kris, and it's bad. It's crap. It's really bad. They are the cheapest of the Fireborns. They lose the Firebomb rune mark, and they gain a point of crit damage. This all seems fine. Okay, but the big but exists, and the big but is that they lose a point of strength. This makes them strength 3. And yeah, that just isn't good enough. For a model that's almost 100 points, rocking strength 3 is awful. You do not want to be rocking a strength that low on a model this expensive. Absolutely terrible. Do not bring a Kris Fireborn unless you are desperate for points. They are a complete waste of space. I cannot stand them. And let's do the Fireborn as a whole. Yep, the Fireborn. You've seen the stats. The stats are good. Apart from the Kris. Fuck that guy. Yeah. The stats are good. Yeah. The rune mark's great. Damage, fantastic. Strength, damage, toughness, wounds, all good. I don't like them. I don't like them. They fill this niche in the SCIONS of Flame that I don't think needs filling. You can bring them. They have their uses. They are good. But when you've got the Brazen Champion just sitting there, you've got the Blazing Lord, and as I'll talk about, you've got the Immolator, the Priest, okay? And then we're going to talk this next, the Initiates, okay? They're not good enough they're not good enough, in my opinion, to take when there's other things that are worth taking that do more. Okay? And the first of which is the Initiate. So the Initiates, like Fireborn, come in many variations, but you get 4 in this case, and they are between 60 and 70 points pop. So, 65 and 70 points a pop. So they're about kind of half the price, of the Fireborn, okay? But this does come with some rather substantial change to the stats. Okay? So defensively, they are all the same. So for your chaff level points investment, you get, well, chaff. Movement 4, toughness 3, 10 wounds. Solid. Okay, this is a solid as a Beastman Gore, you know, whatever. Which is to say they're fine. They're a bit squishy. Toughness 3 is a bit near. But I am heavily biased on how I like to run them, and that toughness 3 doesn't really matter. So we'll get to that in a moment. And then you've got the 4 weapon options. So you have a Initiate with a Brazier weapon, which comes with range 1, attacks 3, strength 4, 1-4 damage, okay? And the Firebomb rune, okay? Then you've got an Initiate with a pot. The pot Initiate has the exact same profile, minus a point in strength, which honestly just kills this pick. So yeah, I mean, it's 5 points cheaper. But I would rather just pay the 5 points to get +1 strength. Honestly, if I was going to take a Firebomb Initiate, then I would not take the pot Initiate. I would just pay the 5 points and take the Brazier weapon because it's better in every way. And then you go into the interesting weapons. These are the weapons that I like. Okay? First is the Flail. This thing has range 3. Range 3. It's stupid. Attacks 3, strength 3, 1-4 damage. Okay, this thing is stupidly good. It's having range 3 and then no downsides. where's the downside? There is none. Same strength, same damage profile as the pot guy, and you'll soon find out so that only the brazier weapon has strength 4. So the standard initiates are only strength 3. So this guy has the standard initiate stats. Ray attack still loses nothing but gains range 3. This weapon is amazing. The damage is crap, okay, but it's no worse than anything else here, okay. And like initiates are all squishy. They're all squishy. Toughness 3 are terrible, and they just don't have shields. So if you have a flail, you can just stand out of range of nearly everything. Most things in Warcry don't have a range more than 2. A lot of things in Warcry are range 1. So if you've got range 3 and you stand on that 3 range, things have got to move. This functionally halves their damage potential the next turn. It is hugely impactful. That extra inch of range, that 3-inch range, is beautiful. Very few things can reach to have that range. You can force people to attack you, and they will attack you at reduced stats because they have to move. That takes up an AP. It's huge, and it's the cheapest. The dude's 65 points. He's not even 70 points. He's 65 points. You lose the firebomb rune mark, but when you've got range 3 melee weapons, you don't care. It doesn't matter. You've got a freaking flail. It's amazing. And then you've got the next guy. Okay, I like this guy too. Okay, so obviously I've been singing praises of the flail. The hooked axe is the next guy, and this guy's actually pretty interesting. Okay, range 1, strength 3, 1/4 damage, 4 attacks. This is a really nice buff. Okay, now his damage profile still sucks, but the important thing to note is that his crit damage is 4. So that's quite a high crit, and he's got 4 attacks. So if you're going for the little stand still, smacky smack twice, you're looking at 8 attacks. That's a decent chance to do some fairly substantial damage, okay? With Onslaught active, if you want to be really crazy, and Ignited Fervor. This guy gets 12 attacks for activation, and that's like an average of 10 damage on just about everything. Okay, so if you're swinging with your pretty low strength against an average toughness thing, you look like 10 damage. That's enough to kill something far more expensive than you. That's enough to almost kill a Fireborn. And Fireborns are way better than you. And way more expensive. So this guy can really swing up. He's a little assassin. And yeah, I find myself sometimes just bringing one just for the crit fishing. I was saying don't crit fish with expensive things because they're too expensive to risk that on. This guy is cheap, and absolutely get there, go out there and crit fish. If he dies, who cares? He wasn't worth much anyway. And if he lives and he kills something, then he's got his points back almost guaranteed. He's really good. So of the two, I still say I prefer the flail, but the hooked axe is a great alternative, and I often take one hooked axe just for that little suicidal charge in, hoping for the best kind of thing. He's great. Love him. Okay. The brazier weapon is also good. If you want a firebomb in your list, then the brazier weapon is a great alternative to the hooked axe. That strength 4 is very nice. It can do a lot. And of course, the firebomb is great. So there's options. And yeah, initiates are very good. Initiates, because initiates exist, I think that Fireborn no longer have relevance. Initiates are good enough for their points, and the buff that Fireborn bring, the buffs they bring, aren't good enough to even contemplate. I don't think they're good enough. Fireborn look nice models. Nah, not good enough. I think the crap. Fireborn tick all the right boxes, but in the Scions of Flame, initiates completely overshadow them. I just don't take Fireborn. It's very, very rare I take them. Initiates exist. So let's move on though. Let's move on to the Inferno Priest. Okay, the Inferno Priest. I'm going to keep this one short. Okay, this is the last that can use the faction squad. So you are taking her. Okay, I'm saying now, there's no scenario you don't take this model ever. This model is too good, and she is only 120 points. Okay, so 120 points comes with movement 4, toughness 4, 15 wounds. That's a nice defensive block for a low price. Offensively, she is obviously outstanding because she has her ability, but even without that, her stats are great. Okay, she comes with 2 profiles. Her range profile rocks up with range 6, no minimum, which for the record, if you look at my FAQ video, range with no minimum range has actually gotten a substantial buff in Warcry. So that's very nice. Attacks 3, strength 3, T4 damage. That's solid. That's a solid range profile, okay? Low strength, they're always low strength. It's range, it's fine, okay? And it's also the only ranged attack in the entire faction, so that's always good. It's the best of the nothing else. It's fantastic. And of course, minimum damage 2 is lovely, okay? Her melee profile is also surprisingly good. Range 2, lovely. Attacks 3, fine. Strength 4, great. I'll take strength 4. 2-4 damage. I mean, what is there to say other than this is, again, a nice block? Everything here is fine. Everything's average for the price cost, and it comes with the quad. It comes with Engulfed in Flame. Like, this is a great model. There's nothing else to say. This is great. Just take it. And then we go into the final one. Okay, it's time for the big boomba. Okay, the big boomba. The Immolator. 150 points. Movement 5. Toughness 4. 18 wounds. Another guy with 18 wounds. Okay. This guy is rocking Brazen Champion defensive stats and rolls up cheaper and comes with faster movement. The fastest in the whole warband, okay? That movement 5 really makes all the difference and helps you place the Immolator where you want him to be. If you've played Chaos Legionnaires, you'll know that I absolutely love the Mutando, which is that weird Beastman thing who's got, again, movement 5. Anything that has higher than average movement is always good in my eyes. And the fact that these guys come with a Immolator, who's a good model in general, his ability is fantastic, who also has high movement, is always good. And then you've got the offensive stats. So of course he has his unique AoE boom boom. That's fine. But he ain't too bad in combat either. Range 1 kind of sucks, but attacks 4, strength 4, 2-5 damage, okay? So yeah, range 1, it's terrible. No one likes range 1. But everything else here is great. He is a little undercooked for his cost, but he isn't far off the Blazing Lord. He's not far off the Brazen Champion. I would definitely always slot in one Immolator. This guy's stats are good enough to take even if you never go boom. And the threat of going boom, of being the big boomba, that is enough. That is enough. So, Immolator, again, fantastic. All the unique models in this warband are fantastic. Brazen Lord, the Blazing Lord, the Brazen Champion, the Immolator, the Inferno Priest, all of them are fantastic. So let's look at, now that we've got all that out of the way, let's end up with a list, okay? A list. Now, the Scions of Flame are a little bit more expensive across the board than many factions, with the exceptions of your chaff. I will also note here that the Scions of Flame box, whilst beautiful, I mean, the sculpts are gorgeous, they lack options. Yeah, it's not great. You're not going to be able to run all of your box initiates with flails, for example. You're not going to be able to run all your Fireborn if you ran them how you wanted them, which means that these guys are really painful to get on the board how you want them to. It's a really big and noticeable downside to this box, is that the box is like kind of shit. So yeah, if you're just sticking with the box options, then rest assured the stuff you can build in the Scions of Flame box is good. The list, like the list you can build with the options in the box is fantastic. I'm not going to cover it because it's just the stuff you can build in the box. If you want something a little bit better, and you're willing to go down the route of proxying or converting or trolling eBay, then this is an idea for a list that I would consider when first starting out. Now, I've ran this list a few times, and it does work. it's a nice one. It's fun. I like it a lot. Okay, so leader. Naturally, you're going to start with the Blazing Lord. This is our only choice, and it is stupidly good. Blazing Lord all the way. Fighters. Brazen Champion. Boom. Brazen Champion again. Boom. Two of these guys. Why wouldn't you? Guy's too good. Guy is way too good. Super strong, super tough. Love this guy. Okay. Next up, Immolator. You need the big boomba. Okay. Inferno Priest. She's a deletion tool. Okay. So far, we've got all the big stuff. Okay. We've got all the important things in here. Okay. But we've got more points left over. Okay. So we're going to take an initiate with Flail and then a second initiate with Flail. This gives us some chaff, some survivable chaff. Okay. We love this. Okay. And then the final one, final little points expenditure is an initiate with Hooked Axe or an initiate with Brazier Weapon. Now, we went over both of these things. I would personally take the Hooked Axe. However, the Brazier Weapon is far more reliable, okay? Obviously, the Brazier Weapon is the better choice in most cases. If you wanted to go a little bit spicier, Hooked Axe is a lot of fun, okay? And that's the list. That list is exactly 1,000 points, and it gives you 8 models, okay? Which is solid. In general, you want to look at about 7 models as in a warband in Warcry as like the nice aiming point. You've got 8, so you'll be out activating the average there. Now, again, you may have noticed we didn't take any Fireborn, and that's because, like I said, I don't like them. They're underwhelming. They're too expensive to be chaff, and their range on the weapons is universally lacking. So I'd rather either downgrade to Initiate or upgrade to a Brazen Champion. So that's what I did. So if you wanted a Fireborn, then take Fireborn. What I would do here is I would drop the 1 Brazen Champion, put in a Fireborn of your choice, and then slot in a 4th Initiate. This would give you 9 bodies on the table, more wounds, and the offset is that you lose raw power. So that would be the change. There would be to drop a Brazen Champion, put in a Fireborn, and a 4th Initiate, and that'll give you some fun. Okay. So this is where the video takes a bit of a turn, because I have been singing the praises of these guys like no tomorrow, because these guys are good. They are so fun to play. But how are they on the tabletop? How effective are they when it comes to actually winning games? And this is where the conclusion comes in, okay? After playing them a lot in preparation for this video, I think they're really fun, but they have some clear issues, okay? They have some good abilities, some truly outlandish damage output, and they're very adept at trading up against things far stronger than they are because of Fiery Might, okay? Their reaction is also very powerful and works wonders, especially when used on Initiates. Initiates are the perfect target for this, okay? But their downsides are their reliance on their expensive models, like the Immolator, the Champion, the Priest, even the Lord, okay? These are interesting and powerful models, but they come at a hefty price tag. And when all of them are taken together, they make up more than half of your warband's points cost, okay? Not only that, most of their faction is dawdling on average speed, okay? And with little to no innate access to faster things, the Immolator being the only exception there, okay? This means you need to take allies or run additional Immolators if you want to get around the board quickly, and that just isn't effective. One, you don't have the points to take an ally, and in my opinion, stay effective, because you would lose all your chaff, or you would lose something powerful like the Brazen Champion. You'd lose something vital to the list, or more Immolators, which aren't good enough to take more than one up, in my opinion. So you are perpetually slow without some real tweaking to the list. Okay, like some super like number crunching to get something nailed. It's difficult to get more speed in this list in Scions, right? The games I've won with Scions, I was able to beat most things in a straight fight. So if I was against another aggressive warband, Scions of Flames, they get in there and they swing up, they swing hard, they kill things. Okay? The games where I lost were games my opponent were able to outmaneuver me and just score points. Okay? They just had superior movement options, and the Scions of Flame just can't deal with that. They don't have access to any supporting, any debuffs. All of their stuff is damage or buffs for them. They do not debuff anything ever, which is painful because they means they can't. If things move fast, then you just can't catch them. That's how it is. If someone wants to stay away from you, they can easily. And I think the Scions are powerful, okay, really strong, but you need to be able to play your game, force your game if you want to win. Okay, utilize your powerful units and make the most of your limited range to bring the hurt where it's needed. You can't be caught up playing their game, and if you do, you lose. Okay, there's no wiggle room there. Okay? You have to kill them all. You have to murder, and you have to then hold objectives. And that's it. That's how it works. If you can't do that, if you get outmaneuvered, if you get shot down, if you can't get into the range you need to get into, you die, you lose. And it's played out that way every single time I've played, okay? It's either I win through just absolute crushing, burning death, or I lose and I just was turned into a little cinder, okay, floating around the battlefield, and it sucks, okay? So Scion, one last thing, there was a game as well where the Scions hit a limit to how they can perform in combat. So the Scions are very strong, okay? But they are not the best combat faction in the game, and some factions can not only just tank your aggression, but they can dish it back. And this is a weakness of the Scions I did not expect to come up, and that is that they're not actually that tough. Not compared to the really tough things in Warcry, okay? Toughness 5's their highest toughness, and that's on one guy. Everything else, toughness 3 or toughness 4, that ain't great. That ain't great. So if you can't kill the thing first, they're going to swing back and probably kill you straight back. So you've got to be explosive, and you've really got to make sure you can kill the thing that you're trying to fight. So yeah, that was I was not expecting that. I was expecting the Scions to perform very well in combat against anything. They do not perform well in combat against everything. Most things, yes. Everything, no. If they're too tough, you will struggle. You will really struggle. So yeah, either way though, okay, Scions of Flame are a lot of fun, okay? This is in testing and in playing them, these guys have become my favorite warband in all of Warcry, okay? I love everything I've covered so far. Beastmen are my first love, and Scions of Flame are not quite that high, but out of bespoke warbands, easily number one for the fun. It's because they've managed to nail the theme and then brought that theme to life mechanically. I love the idea of these guys, and I love playing them even when I lose. And if you like the idea of the Scions, okay, then you're going to have an absolute blast, pun intended, playing them, okay? And that's it for today's video. So thank you for making it this far, Legends. Please remember to leave a comment, drop a like, and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps the channel out and lets me know what you want to see me doing. Okay, like I said, this video is made because you lot asked for a Scions of Flame video. So it appeared. Here it is. Okay. If you have a faction you want me to cover next, let me know and I will get on that. I will go into the testing phase. I will grind games out. I will get to know them, and I will get a video together as soon as I possibly can. Okay, these videos take a long time to make because I know a fair bit about Warcry. I don't know everything about Warcry, and yeah, so when it comes to new factions, I still need to learn how to play them, and they do take a little while. So I will get them as quickly as possible, and yeah, you let me know. I'll get right on that. Until next time, though, thanks for watching. Ta-ra.